As long as you're alive, there's no end to the problems. So we all have problems, so I want you to think about your problems like a stack of dinner plates. And at the bottom you have little problems, and as you move up you have bigger problems. But then you always have one main problem. And this is the problem that you think about most of the time. This is the one that bothers you, that worries you. Sometimes it keeps you awake at night. Sometimes you talk about it at home. Sometimes you drive along and you're thinking about it. We all have one big problem. That's the nature of being a human being. So I want you to imagine that there's a great power in the universe, whatever you call it, and this great power wants you to be successful and happy. But this great power knows that you have a perverse nature, in that you will not learn unless it hurts. This great power knows that you can only be happy if you can climb the ladder of lessons learned. You have to try things and learn lessons in order to get to a higher level. And you will not learn unless there's pain accompanied with it. And the pain is usually emotional pain, but often it's physical pain, and it could be financial pain, or business pain, or family pain. There's pain. And so your biggest problem on the top of your stack of dinner plates is the one that's causing you the most pain of some kind. All right? So I want you to imagine that this problem has been sent to you as a gift from a great power to help you to be successful and happier in the future. And it contains within it a lesson. And this lesson is worth vastly more than the problem itself. And what most people do is they get preoccupied with the problem and don't look for the lesson. My friend Norman Vincent Peale used to say that when God wants to send you a gift, or Allah wants to send you a gift, He wraps it up in a problem. And the bigger the gift He wants to send you, the bigger the problem He wraps it up in. So every problem you have today is actually a gift, if you look at it properly. And within the gift, there is a valuable lesson. And your job is to look for the lesson. And my promise to you is that if you look for the lesson, even in your biggest problem, you will find sometimes not just one lesson, but multiple lessons. Sometimes if you ask this question, what is the lesson that I am meant to learn from this problem? Your answer will be, well, maybe I should do more of this or less of that. And then you ask this question, well, what else is the lesson? Well, maybe I should start doing this or stop doing that. Well, what else is the lesson? Well, maybe I should get into something completely different. Well, what else is the lesson? And you keep drilling. Don't allow yourself to settle for a little easy lesson. Keep drilling, because sometimes your biggest problem has the lesson that will change your life. A friend of mine started a business in his 20s with 2 other partners. After 3 or 4 years of working 16-hour days, the business went bankrupt. And he lost everything. He moved back home to live with his family. And he sat down and he was very unhappy. He was exhausted. He'd lost all this money, lost all this time. But he did something so intelligent that I just pass it on to you. He got a spiral notebook, like a school notebook from school, and he wrote down all the categories of business and the lessons that he had learned. First, he wrote down people. What did I learn about people in trying to start my own business? Both people inside and outside the business. What I learned was all these things. What did I learn about money? What did I learn about customers? What did I learn about planning? What did I learn about marketing? What did I learn about sales? What did I learn about partnerships? That's a real good thought. And he wrote down lesson after lesson after lesson. And this became his Bible. And he eventually recovered, and he got into another business. And in this business, he became a millionaire, and then a multi-millionaire, and he retired extremely rich at the age of 50. And still today, he's retired and living in a beautiful home on a golf course and living a wonderful life. And I spoke to him about that, and he said all of his success after his bankruptcy came from sitting and writing down the lessons he had learned from his bankruptcy. So there's nothing wrong with making mistakes, but what is the only thing that's wrong? There's not learning from them. And you don't learn from them unless you sit down and write the damn things down. If you just say, well, I'm going to learn lots of things. No, write it down, write it down, write it down. Because the only way that you can think clearly is if you can think on paper. If you cannot write it clearly, it means that you don't understand it. Writing actually makes you more precise and makes you a better thinker. That's why your very best thinkers write things down. I worked with people who were the smartest people I ever met. Geniuses who make hundreds of millions of dollars. A man I used to work with had set up and operated 200 companies worldwide. And anybody from any of those companies could come to talk to him, and he knew everything that was going on in that company. I worked with him as a personal assistant for 3 years, and it had a great effect on my life. And he wrote everything down. He always wrote things down. When you spoke to him, he made notes. When he came to a meeting, he had notes. He didn't try to just get by with the fact that he was brilliant. Always wrote things down. It's a great lesson for me to learn.